Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're going inside a charismatic Christian encounter service. Our goal? To really break down its structure, its purpose, and turn what can seem like a complex spiritual event into something you can clearly understand step by step.
So, have you ever wondered what really happens inside one of these 3-hour services? We're going to deconstruct it. Figure out what makes it tick. We'll look at all the key pieces and the kind of experience it creates for everyone there. And for our guide, we're using a specific service that took place on March 22nd, 2026.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're basically going to walk through the service just like a participant would, in 5 parts. We'll kick things off with the worship, touch on miracles and the mission, then giving, and wrap it all up with a big final sermon. You'll get to see how it all connects.
All right, first up, the worship experience. So right out of the gate, the service kicks off with this really long period of high-energy, super immersive musical worship. It's all about setting the tone. So you've got to imagine this. The music is pretty much nonstop, right? It's designed to pull you in, to create this real atmosphere of participation. The band is leading everyone, and you'll hear these big collective declarations like, "I am a friend of God," or calls for God to arise. The whole point, really, is to get everyone on the same page, to build this powerful, unified spiritual vibe before anything else happens.
Okay, so once that intense worship period winds down, the focus completely shifts. It gets personal. This is when people get up and share stories, which are presented as real, tangible proof of God's intervention in their lives. And what's cool is that these stories come from everywhere, from people in the room and from viewers online. Take this first one from Sister Campbell in South Africa. She says she had a leg problem for years, since 2014. But then, after a declaration from the apostle, boom. She says she was healed instantly. The emphasis here is totally on that immediate, supernatural fix. All right, now this next one brings things down to a very practical, everyday level. It's from Brother Mark in Uganda. His motorcycle, his main source of income, mind you, was stolen. He prayed during one of the online sessions, and he got it back. It's a story that really highlights, a real-world result. And then there's this story. And wow, it's pretty intense. It's from Brother Samuel, speaking for his wife. He talks about a moment of pure panic. It looked like his wife was having a miscarriage. The initial report was that the baby is out, but he refused to believe it, and get this. He says a later test confirmed the baby was perfectly fine, totally intact. A really dramatic turnaround. So you see how we've gone from these really personal, individual stories? Well, now the service zooms out. It connects those personal miracles to a much, much bigger organizational mission. It's about taking that individual experience and plugging it into a massive collective goal. And they get specific, using hard numbers. This is an update on their big evangelism project called Project 5 Million Souls. What's interesting is during the service, the host actually first announced a lower number, and then corrects himself, revealing the actual figure. 1,478, just in the past week. So to give that weekly number some context, they zoom out again. From January to March of 2026, the total is over 56,000. This really paints a picture of steady, large-scale growth. It's not just a one-week fluke. And then the big one. The cumulative total. Over 2.3 million souls saved so far. See, this is the number that really shows the sheer scale and ambition of their mission. It takes that 1 week's effort and puts it into this huge, long-term vision of reaching 5 million people. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit to the part of the service about giving. And this is where it gets really interesting because the call for financial contributions isn't just, please donate. It's framed as a fundamental core theological principle. The speaker lays out 4 specific reasons, 4 pillars for why people should give. So it's not just about money. It's presented as this multi-layered spiritual act. First, it's a proof of love. Second, it's about being a partner in the mission. Third, it's you acknowledging that God is your source for everything. And finally, it's a covenant by sacrifice, a way to enter into this really deep, sacred agreement. All right, now we get to the main event, really. The final and longest part of the service is the guest sermon. And this is where they lay out a very specific, and I mean urgent, vision for the role of the church right now, in this moment in history.
The whole sermon is built around this one powerful idea, this analogy. Imagine church history as a giant relay race. According to the preacher, the current generation of believers, they're the last runner. They're God's last man. They've just been handed the baton, and the expectation is that they're going to run faster than anyone before them and win the whole thing.
So the preacher makes this comparison. He looks back at what he calls the first church, the Israelites in the wilderness with Moses. He says, look, even they had signs, wonders, silver, and gold, and that was all under the old covenant. So the argument is, if they had all that, then the final church, God's last man, which is under the new covenant, is destined for something way, way bigger. It's like that saying, right? The best wine is saved for last.
So here's the crucial takeaway from the sermon. The idea is that this last man only has 1 hour left on the clock in this historical relay race. That's not a literal hour, of course. It just means time is short. So, because the mission has to be completed so quickly, the preacher argues that God has to equip this generation with 4 specific things: immense faith, supernatural power, incredible abundance, and breakneck speed.
So when you pull it all apart, what's the big picture? By deconstructing this event piece by piece, from the emotion of worship to the proof of miracles, the scale of the mission, the theology of giving, all the way to this end-time army sermon, what we're really seeing is a blueprint. It's a look at how modern charismatic movements build an incredibly strong sense of community, a deep sense of purpose, and a whole framework for how to see your place in the world.